welcome to the stage Oracle NetSuite Senior Vice President of Growth Strategy and Execution, Sam Levy.
All right, that's my people right there, like he's dancing. We're in Vegas. Well, welcome to the afternoon show here at SuiteWorld. Looks like a lot of you were out drinking last night, but maybe you guys weren't because you're actually here. But today, we're going to explore what separates those companies that simply survive, as you saw, from those that truly scale. And in my role of leading growth strategy at NetSuite, I've had a front row seat to so many NetSuite customers, breaking barriers, redefining what's possible, and proving that the right platform, there truly are no limits. So scaling challenges for businesses can be difficult today. And I think as I start with a reality check, every company reaches this moment. You're growing fast, and suddenly you hit the wall. You can either stick with the usual way or figure out how to break through the wall and build new operating model that's designed for growth and for more. When most businesses hit that predictable, what I call predictable growth ceiling, and the traditional question has always been around that says more, if you want to grow, it's like more revenue? Yeah, I want to grow. More people, more complexity. But that equation really simplifies that. What you hear today is these customers broke that equation. And what's at stake, I think, is really important for all of us. In today's fast, evolving landscape, where scaling isn't an optional, it's a must, it's survival. And whether you're raising funding or expanding your companies locally or globally, or defining or defending your market position out there, the window for competitive advantages is shrinking. And the question isn't if you'll hit that and face that wall, it's how fast you're going to break through it. And that's what we're asking. And that's what we're going to share with you is what is the NetSuite scaling DNA? And after studying some of our most successful customers, 3 patterns consistently emerge. If you want to break through, the leap from great ideas to that flawless execution, this has become the blueprint. 1, platform-first thinking, the foundation for scale. And I think this is so important, to say goodbye to all those disconnected systems, those manual spreadsheets, all the workarounds you have in your business. As Evan showed earlier, the hairball of business systems. These companies run their entire business on a platform. And that gives them the capacity now to scale from where they're at, 200%, 500% or more, without skipping a beat. So they don't just use NetSuite, though, they leverage it as their growth engine. And a single source of truth is the underpinnings of every strategic decision. Real-time visibility we talk about all the time lets you pivot fast and seize those opportunities in the moment. And the platform becomes the runway for growth today and for decades to come as you move forward. 2, automation as a strategy. Now this is just not efficiency. I say top executives are ruthless about automation. Every manual transaction, every report, every repetitive task, not just to cut cost, but to scale your capabilities. And they are freeing up now human capital for the things that are more important in your business. The strategic thinking, the critical innovation, and more importantly, the customer and supplier relationship building. They're creating that consistency, that predictable process that performs flawlessly through their businesses, no matter if they're small or if their volume is increasing every day. And once what took a lot of people to do is being automated every day. And I think this is really, really critical. Automation, as we talk about the benefit, isn't about the back office. It is your growth strategy. 3, And the most important one for some of you is that the industry differentiation through your back-end operations. This is where companies are all different. And the real breakthrough happens when the companies optimize their business for their industry. And you're going to hear from whether you're a software company or a manufacturer, perhaps you're a retailer or distributor or a service organization. They don't compete anymore on features. They compete on execution, their differences. And superior operators now really have turned that into their selling value propositions. Vertical tools, you all want industry tools. You want your KPIs tailored to your business. And most importantly, those manageable workflows that are meaningful to you. So that is the back-end excellence that we turn into that front-end advantage. The scale, not just to get bigger, but we want to get smarter and sharper than all of our competitors out there. And this is the NetSuite scaling DNA: platform, automation, and industry excellence. Now this is really interesting. From the old frontiers to the new frontiers, this might be scratching your head. Wow, what is that? And this is the old frontier. And I look at the old frontier as these are the patterns that we have looked at and studied for a long time. And the patterns are even more critical as I look at this today. You look at the old frontier, what was the trustworthy horse-drawn wagon that was out there? That drawn wagon was reliable, but oftentimes limited. For decades, growth followed that predictable strategy, almost in a linear fashion. You wanted to double growth, you just hired more people. You hired more horses, more horsepower. Well, growth meant adding sales reps or that support staff, your operators, your management, and expanding the team headcount almost went step for step with your revenue. And success then was just measured purely by revenue. And for a long time, for all of you and for many of you, that became the gold standard. But like the covered wagon crossing through that rough terrain, there were hard limits. How fast your horse could walk, the quality of the road seemed to change every day, and the weight your buggy could pull varied dramatically. So that model worked, but it could only take you so far. The new frontier, wow, what does this look like? The rocket symbolizes that unlimited potential powered by AI. I think that's a little Stan in there. I do see Stanley in there. But that is this AI piece of it. And today's scaling leaders are thinking differently about the human leverage of your business. In the past, I mentioned 50% growth, 50% more people, maybe a little bit less if you had some efficiencies in your organization. But AI and machine learning now have flipped this equation. It's no longer one person to one task. It's one person to many automated agents embedded directly in the platform. Routine work is becoming automated. People focus on the exceptions, and then reach extends exponentially in your organization. And I think of that as one CSM now can manage maybe the workload of 10x the number of accounts they once did before. One financial analyst can do the work perhaps of an entire team. So scaling is no longer about hiring, it's about leverage and changing the very economics of growth. What we continually see with NetSuite is that NetSuite is the pulse of your business. It's powering the growth through that collaboration we talk about, the orchestration of your business. It's a shared foundation. We've been building this together for a long time. Every step, we strengthen the ecosystem and our partners out there. Customers build stronger networks. And as new customers join, the platform expands. It drives more orders, it drives more innovation and more opportunity. What happens with transactions? We want more transactions with smarter operations. Billions of real transactions fuel that richer benchmarks that you all want, the sharper insights for your business and stronger capabilities. And lastly, look at more data, the collective intelligence. There's so much data out there across the ecosystem. And we want every company now to think more agile, more productive, and more competitive. As you can see, the scaling math is now really evolving. So let's look at the scaling math. What does this mean? And I think this is where the game changes. The traditional way of revenue, as you see here, plus people equals limited growth. That is your horse-drawn buggy. As I think about the new piece of it, as AI takes everything we've built, the platform, the automation, the industry focus, and it amplifies it now exponentially. Your data, our platform, the collective intelligence of thousands of businesses come together to unlock now that unprecedented scaling power. And what once took teams of people now happen automatically. What once required deep expertise is now accessible to all of us and to everyone. And insights are generated in real time, but they're more prescriptive, they're shared, and they're industry informed. So your data, your transaction, your processes, the entire cycle accelerates. The results companies are seeing, though, they're scaling 300, 500% while keeping their teams flat. Transaction complexity is growing, but not operational complexity. Intelligence and insights that one felt impossible to reach or get a hold of are within reach. And if you accept this as the new reality, it forces a strategic thinking and execution with AI. This is the moment to get past the brick wall, to follow the blueprint, ignite the rocket, and bring your platform, automation, and industry gears into perfect sync. This is where no limits becomes more than a theme, it becomes your operating model. Today, you're going to hear from some leaders who embodied this mindset, from each of them facing their own growth walls. And each of them broke through it, not by doing more of the same, but thinking differently. One embraced the platform-first thinking of turning fragmented systems into a foundation for scale. Another made automation their growth strategy, unleashing people to focus on where it matters most. A third doubled down on industry-specific execution and turning that operational excellence into a competitive weapon to get more and more customers. They shared a common thread, a no-limits mindset, and that's transformed constraints into their launch pads. So as you listen to the next little bit of the interviews, I think I ask yourself, what would your business look like if your operations weren't constrained? And what could you, or how could you turn your biggest growth challenge into a competitive advantage? Where might you still be thinking of that old growth model and that old growth equation? Well, these aren't theories. These are real strategies from real companies that are achieving extraordinary results. So let's dive into their stories and explore how you can take some of these strategies that you'll learn from them to your organization and break through that wall. So my first guest, I'm going to welcome to the stage now with me, the CRO of Shopify, Bobby Morrison. Bobby.
What's up, my friend?
All right. I don't know, Evan did a good job on the stage. I don't know where's Evan at, but it was like, is this the CPU kind of turntable up here? How should we be looking at this stage? A lot of insights. Sit down and get along with the ride, I see.
There we go.
All right. Well, Bobby, this is the moment.
I'm getting dizzy.
No, yeah, you're getting dizzy? Well, let's see. Give us an overview, I think, for everybody. They probably know a little bit about Shopify, but I think you've been a NetSuite customer for a long time. And it's more than a decade you've been on NetSuite. But what do you see as some of the key factors that have made this relationship so successful over the years?
Yeah, I think maybe starting for the room that don't know Shopify, our mission is to make commerce better for everyone. And commerce is commerce everywhere, not just e-commerce. It's commerce online, in store, social, and as you heard last week from us, it's also in the world of AI with our announcement with OpenAI. And you know, my mission coming to Shopify was really how do we continue to grow our business into the new areas, which is mostly moving up market, and it's now more than half of our revenues and a disproportionate amount of our growth. And NetSuite's been along for the ride from the very beginning. I wasn't here in 2015 when we IPO'd, but apparently about 2 years ahead of time, we made the decision to make the move to NetSuite, and you guys have been a big part of the scaling of this organization. As a founder-led business, I've never worked for a founder-led company, but there's a speed and agility at a founder-led company that you just don't see elsewhere, and our systems are critically important to us. We're a little bit of software snobs,
No way.
if you will. Yes, we are. We believe all software has opinions baked into it, and sometimes those opinions match ours, and we make the decision to use that. Sometimes they don't, and we'll go build our own thing in-house, and NetSuite's opinions matched ours.
Yeah. Well, this is good because your growth has been pretty spectacular to watch and see from early stages to IPO, but maybe you can share and talk to some of those specifics on growth and the big moments for you of where you went to IPO and then expansion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously coming out of the gates from building a snowboard shop in Toby's basement to where we are today has come a long way. Our growth at Shopify has, I think we started with you guys, 10 total entities, 4 currencies. We're now 5 times that. We just added 17 new markets globally last year. We'll add more this coming year. You'll hear about that as we roll into 2026. Process about $1 trillion has, in constant currency, has flowed through the Shopify system since our inception. Last year, we had 870,000 buyers that were on our platform that had purchased something.
How many countries did you say again that you're in?
55 entities that are in market. We service a little over 150 countries around the world.
That is great.
All that runs on you guys.
That is amazing. Well, you mentioned going public and implementing NetSuite, I think 2 years before you went IPO. We talked about this a little bit, but I think for them is, what was the impetus to say why we needed a system before we got into this hyper growth mode, and maybe what the previous mindset was?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to my finance team about this, some of those that were here originally, and I can't even remember the name of the thing that we were running on, but I know it cost us $800 a year. So that clearly was not going to be the thing that was going to take us public. And NetSuite, SOX compliance out of the box. We had complete agility in our auditing capabilities and audit trails. And I think the feedback from the team was we needed something that was going to not only meet our needs at IPO, but help us scale to the growth aspirations of the business. And we're not done yet. I mean, making commerce better for everyone. There's still a lot of people out there that haven't made the switch yet to Shopify, and we're working really, really hard to make that happen.
Right. And anything, your new strategies that you're implementing for just a route to market right now?
Well, a couple things. I mentioned, making sure we service. Entrepreneur is kind of deep in our DNA. You hear Harley and Toby talk about that constantly, and we still hold that very close and near and dear to our heart. But as our customers have grown, it's become pretty evident to us that we needed to expand our capabilities. We needed to add new services. We needed to harden our core platform, and so we've spent a lot of time doing that. As I mentioned, more than half of the revenues now come from our upmarket part of our business, and that's been really over the last 3 years. We've pushed really hard into that space. Right. And now some of the biggest enterprises in the world are running on Shopify, multi-billion-dollar brands that call us home.
Right. I was thinking of this, and you talk about expansion and international markets, especially from the CRO perspective and what you're doing there. But it's got to be challenging, picking your next market for Shopify, but more importantly, how have we helped you kind of launch in these new markets?
Yeah, I mean, we are spinning up entities, sometimes spinning down entities on a pretty regular basis, and you guys have just made that super easy for us to be able to accomplish. Being able to do that has helped us in M&A. It's helped us enter new markets. We did quite a bit last year across Western Europe and the Middle East, and you'll see more of that as we continue to roll into 2026. And we need to make sure that our systems and tools don't become friction. I saw your math equation on the board. My math equation, whenever I go into a business and one that I operate on, is rate times volume divided by friction. Put that in brackets, multiplied by leadership to the power of AI. And so I think so many teams spend time on rate and volume, and they forget friction is where you lose leverage. Friction is in your back office, your process, your policy, sometimes your rituals and tools. And so it's very important for us that we remove friction, and NetSuite's one of those core pillars that allows us to do that.
I talk about that all the time, is removing those obstacles in the operational side of it that you can leverage in the front office, of course, as a competitive differentiator. you've grown a lot, and I think about what is your growth rate roughly today and for the future? What are you guys looking at?
Well, I'm not sure I can give you future. We are publicly traded.
I was trying to sneak a little question.
Yeah,
there,
no, I appreciate that. You want to get me in trouble. I think last quarter, we were 9 consecutive quarters of 25% plus growth, 15% free cash flow. Last quarter was 31, 32%. I can't remember the number, but you can look it up.
That's great.
Building, and what's impressive is just watching the success of our customers. So 39 out of the last 40 quarters, cohorts of Shopify customers have outperformed the market, 39 of the last 40. So for all of you that are on Shopify, just know we're going to continue to keep investing. For those of you that have not yet made the switch, you can drop me a note. I'll give you my mobile number before.
Get that NetSuite in there first, if you don't mind, right?
There you go. Yes, NetSuite and Shopify
there we go,
together,
right? Well, here's the big topic that we've been, at this conference about no limits, but really about AI. And it's all the rage that I hear, and we're talking to all sorts of executives about is, how are you adopting AI? And I think for you all, maybe to share some things is, what is Shopify doing to make sure that you're capitalizing on AI and being cutting edge to either support or to get new customers?
We are intentionally unorthodox by design. So I think we have the classical approach to AI that most people do. Our machine learning teams and our engineering teams are using it, whether it's Claude Code or Cursor or whatever else may be available in the market. And we built some amazing tools for our customers. Sidekick is one of them. We built an MCP in-house for NetSuite so that we can make sure that we connect workflows. But the other part that's maybe less orthodox is what we've done in the commercial organization. Our highest consumers of MCPs inside of Shopify is not our engineering teams. It's our commercial teams. We've got over almost 1 million Gumloop flows that have run over the last 9 months or so, about 15, 16 million lines of code that have been vibe coded up by the commercial team, building out automated tasks, using MCPs like Gumloop to connect end-to-end workflows, and it's completely transformed the way that we operate.
A lot of these companies are probably scratching their heads saying, we're not doing enough AI. Any words of advice if they were to start somewhere in the back office that says, where would...
Yeah, we have taken an approach to tinker with AI. Make it playful and entertaining. We started, in Toby's post in April, he mentioned Rev AI use cases as a Slack channel that we have. It's the most active Slack channel in all of Shopify. And we just wanted people to start sharing their stories of how are they using AI, even if it's at home, with their kids, and then what's that one little use case that you wanted to focus on individually. And what we found is most of our employees are automating tasks that they consider themselves to be painful to do or just overly administrative. And so they're volunteering these automated tasks forward, and what you start to realize is someone may be automating a task at the beginning of a customer journey, someone's automating a task in the middle, someone else did one on the end, but they weren't connected. And this is where I think what Anthropic's done with MCPs has just made it really easy to start to stitch together that automation so that the inputs from one automation leads to the outputs of another.
Being curious and start somewhere, right? That's amazing.
It's the biggest question I get is how to get started. I'll be putting out, there's a LinkedIn post that we'll have next week that is kind of a step-by-step top 10 things to do and just go. And I think the first thing is begin to tinker and have fun.
That is great. Thanks for sharing some insights. Congratulations on all the growth and the partnership as well.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah. Thank you.
Back on the turntable, Evan. I don't know, what do you think? Lots of business insights spinning around here. Well, let's get to our next spin. This will be really good. Our next customer joins us on stage is the founder and CEO of Granite Partners, Rick Bowerly. Rick. Looking good.
Good to be here.
Looking good. Wow, the music is kind of getting into the afternoon session too, I see, huh? Was that your walk-up song?
That was good.
All right.
That was good. I felt the vibe.
Rick, all right. Well, we've chatted a lot over the years, and we heard about the intro video, but maybe for the audience, tell them a little bit more about Granite Partners, because you've got an interesting story, and I think the origin story, and how you've kind of evolved since the early 2000s.
Well, first, Sam, let me start by thanking you We've known each other a long time, you and the whole NetSuite team. You've really helped enable us. Now for 25 years, we've been on NetSuite. So I start with thanks.
Amazing. Perfect. You're welcome.
Now, our origin story, about 25 years ago, a family business that I grew up in. My parents started with my uncles, built for 30 years. We sold it to a large public company. That was an inflection point. There are many good things about selling to a large public company. There are some downsides.
Right.
There were about a dozen family businesses in our region in central Minnesota that had also sold to a public consolidator or sold to traditional private equity. We saw some of the advantages, we saw some of the disadvantages. We thought there could be a better mousetrap, a better form of ownership. That was the starts of our journey to try to create a long-term private ownership model that today is Granite Partners. And in those 25 years, now 35 business owners have chosen us as the long-term home for their business when they're retiring.
Right, because you're close to now, I think, what, a dozen companies now in different sectors. So this might be really good for everyone, exciting what Granite's doing. But your approach, like you said, is different than the traditional private equity firms. And I think, you know, especially when I think about your culture and your focus on this 100-year sustainability, but maybe explain that a little bit to the audience.
Yeah, so, you know, private equity is a clear model. It's a 10-year fund, and the firms buy in the first 5 years and then sell in the second 5 years by that sunset date. And our fund doesn't have a sunset date. We buy to hold and grow in the long run. And we aren't required to sell, so we can hold across decades or generations. And so our mantra is 100 years. 100 years of ownership, 100 years of growth, and that allows us to really think about deep investments like our investment with NetSuite.
That is great. I mean, hey, I love the partnership for 100 years. This might outlast me though a little bit, but I love that thinking. So before NetSuite, we talked about this early on even, you probably with 3 or 4 dozen different business systems, and one of the things I talk about is this platform. And you had all these different systems across your companies, but what pushed you to kind of go for that platform first and consolidation?
So when you're acquiring companies, when their owners are retiring, you inherit their systems. You didn't design them, you didn't build them. So we had the worst of hairballs across the 10 companies, several CRMs, several MRPs, several ERPs, several accounting, lots of spreadsheets. It was what many of us have felt, fragmented, manual. Some of the systems were sunsetting, and they weren't very secure or accessible. So what we felt, the managers in our company felt, is an inability to get access to the data, to get insight, to get velocity in growing the business. So it was the frustration with the lack of visibility and velocity that led us to bring all of the companies onto NetSuite.
And I think you have some interesting stats you might share here, but the size and usage of your organization today on NetSuite, I think you were sharing some of the users or transactions or entities. Now, what is that?
Yeah, so we're 2,500 users on NetSuite today. We have 3,400 employees. Some of the others will come on for various use cases in time. So it's most all of us who have a relationship daily with NetSuite.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's amazing to see it evolve. So your acquisition strategy certainly calls for continued growth when you acquire these companies and put them in there. Scalability is obviously critical and crucial as we talk about it all the time, but you know, what were the must-have features that you were looking for in a platform?
Yeah, so scalability comes to our minds first, right? I think all of ours is, can we grow the transactions and the whole of it? We'll do 1 million transactions this year, not quite Spotify, but 1 million's a lot for us. I have every confidence, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, Oracle Autonomous Database, Oracle AI, we can scale to 10 million transactions a year. It's scalable. But I think what's more differentiating for NetSuite, at least for our use of it, is what I call scopeability. It's the end-to-end processes. It's the sweetness. And so as we look at our subscription, we have 50 line items, 50 modules, 50 capabilities across the business cycle that gives us great scopeability. There's one more dimension though. There's scale, there's scope, and then there's sustainability. And so with our 25-year lens on NetSuite, we've seen the spring and fall release 50 times. And so we have an intuition about the innovation that NetSuite helps us make over time that allows us to be sustainable, to innovate, to compete in our respective industries. And all of that needs to be wrapped in security. And we have had 25 years without a breach. That's really important. And so these are the four S's that we think about: scalability, scopeability, sustainability, and security.
Well, and with close to a dozen companies, they certainly are diverse companies to some extent. I think of the challenges that you face across that. But any challenges come to mind when you think about moving them over? How did you address that? Maybe some words of advice there.
With the complexity we had and the hairball we had, we certainly took a phased approach. It's taken us almost 4 years to bring all companies, all subsidiaries online. So phasing and sequencing is really important. I think the other things that are critical to the transformation are having a shared sense of purpose. And for us, that's 100-year sustainability and creating value for all of our stakeholders. And then the resourcing, I think, is really critical. And so we think about the resources for a transformation like this in 3 buckets. The first is NetSuite subject matter experts. We're here to meet them. We've been coming for 5 years. There's 50 of us here today. We know 50 people inside of NetSuite by name who are subject matters on the breadth of the suite.
Am I 50 or 51?
You're 51.
Okay, that's good.
You're
That's
not
good.
the most important.
Okay, that's good.
But yeah.
Dang.
So that's job one. That's the platform architects. We need to know by name. But we've also engaged Deloitte Digital. 50 people over 4 years help us really train, implement, go live, optimize, and automate over time. So Deloitte Digital has been critical as kind of the process engineers. But ultimately, it's 250 people inside of our company, leaders, managers, engineers, and analysts who are leading the revolution, who are doing the heavy lifting, who are helping 3,400 people make the changes. So I think early on we were underestimating the resource need, and we grew to invest more and more over time because it's hard to change the design of the airplane you're flying at the same time.
This might be a good one on advanced manufacturing, because a lot of your companies manufacture in a different way. But maybe just share some specific improvements that you're able to make when you deployed these. When you deployed advanced manufacturing.
Yeah. So we are industrial companies. We make products and distribute them around the world. And so for us, the front office is really important, CRM, sales marketing. The back office is really important, accounting, finance, analytics. In the middle, for us, is the magic. And so we have to be able to purchase into inventory. We have to be able to use the advanced manufacturing and material requirements planning tools. We have to be able to work with quality, warehousing, shipping. So when you have the flow through the same suite across the middle and through the back office, we've gained a velocity that is helping us outperform in our industries.
Right. Well, maybe this might be the last question here. I think about AI because I've got to ask you an AI question.
Yes.
And the size and scope of your business, and the systems that you already have out there, but how are you readying the organization now for some AI adoption? And maybe is there anything that you could share with the audience of specific things that you're doing to set up the foundation for the future?
Yeah. So certainly we're benefiting today from the assists and the advice and the text enhance that's in NetSuite. Super excited about NetSuite Next because we do view NetSuite as our single source of truth. We're approaching 10 terabytes of data inside of NetSuite, and all of it is ready for NetSuite Next. So we have some to learn from Shopify. We are getting ready for NetSuite Next, but we are ready because our data gold mine's in place.
I heard this saying before, is the best AI comes from the best data, and you certainly have a lot of data. So I look forward to hearing from your rollout. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, this next customer is one of my favorites, and Kimberly knows this, but let's welcome to the stage the CFO of Symbiotica, Kimberly Duvall. Come on up, Kimberly.
Wow.
What?
Felt a little bit like a runway.
I know, huh? You're looking great.
Thank
Welcome
you,
to
sir.
SuiteWorld.
Thank you. This is my third SuiteWorld.
I know, and you brought a lot of staff with you this time too. It's their first time, you're saying. That's amazing.
Yes. I got 11 of us here this
Yeah.
trip.
Well, Symbiotica, we're going to talk about a lot about Symbiotica, but you know, I'm going to hop right into it and just get down to some of the catalysts behind kind of what you've been doing at Symbiotica. And most importantly, I love the scaling conversations about this explosive growth that you've had since launching in 2018. So maybe can you talk and share some anecdotes about that?
Sure. Symbiotica, we are a health and wellness company. We start off in San Diego. We have a lot of different products for health and wellness, focused in D2C. We've recently made the transition into retail, and so the complexity of our business changing all the time.
Well, and you transitioned in this retail, which is exciting, I think, to announce a little bit. But you know, before we go right to that piece of it, but what were some of the challenges as you look at this multi-channel strategy and how you were thinking that? Because you started with retail and then into some of the other areas, but maybe talk about that D2C to retail.
So D2C, we started off less than $1 million in 2018. We're going to be near 150 million this year.
Congratulations.
It's a big piece for us, for sure. Shopify actually helps enable us, so shout out over there. But ultimately, it's about the products, science-based, really focused in our consumer, who they're putting this in their body. It's got to be very good, high quality, and we got to make sure that ultimately, at the end of the day, we can deliver. And NetSuite's a big part of what lets us do that.
Well, you got a great brand out there. You're in this direct-to-consumer model, but now you want to fast forward and get really into it. So now you go into this retail mode of like, what's this recent decision announcement you want to share with everybody?
I tell you, it's been a whirlwind. The complexity, the requirements of the day-to-day are just dramatically different. And ultimately, the need to be quick, agile, be able to be compliant, to be able to report on, as well as just perform for our customers is an exponential change for us. And we started off in Sprouts about a year ago, did well, but 1,988 stores this week at Target near you.
Whoa, that's a massive scale. 1,988 stores
Yes,
going
we
to
got
Target.
national distribution at the Get, so we're very excited and proud of it.
You should be. That is like pretty amazing. For all of you wanting to figure out how, I don't know, find Kimberly somewhere walking around and ask her. But this is some great experience though too. And Kimberly, we've known you over the years. You've implemented NetSuite, I think almost a dozen times at probably over 20 years, I think, in the ecosystem, right? But some lessons I got to ask, because this audience is probably driven as like, wow, and what have you learned? And I mean, you got to wrap it in the genie in a bottle a little bit, but what's been so successful about the adoption or the fast-growing companies?
Yeah, I would say the first couple times you learn more from your failures than your successes. And I think that as NetSuite has evolved over the 20 years and 12-ish plus implementations and optimization projects, you learn a lot about what not to do so that you can do it better. The biggest thing is really knowing what you're trying to accomplish, right? And it's understanding your pain points, of course. What are the things I'm trying to get out of it? But you can't think about just today. You got to think about 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. Where are you growing? Where are you scaling? Because ultimately, the system that you start with, especially from a partner perspective, has to be there. It's a significant investment, not just of time and money, but of real, gut.
Yeah.
So bringing that all together to make sure that you can have great partners, you've got good education, high adoption, train your team, invest in them, which is why I've got 10 team members here this week.
Right.
Because it's what empowers the system to do what it's supposed to.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of interesting because as you think about what you're doing through Symbiotica, this is maybe your second time of using the advanced customer support in ACS. And I think Evan was talking about some discounts out there for ACS, but I think more importantly is, how has ACS helped you, and with this rapid growth that you're seeing, how have we come together in partnership?
I will tell you, we would not be here if it were not for the ACS team. They have been instrumental, not only with just being a good partner to help us figure out technical, but really to help us think through beyond. What else should we be doing? How should we be thinking about things? Where and how is some of our square peg round hole? And how do we, get those more aligned?
Yeah, no, that is good. I mean, we can't constantly hear that is, well, we don't have the staff. Can someone help us as the expert inside the organization? And certainly ACS is, I'm glad that you're getting value from that offering, which is great. So thinking about boosting efficiency, I talk about this productivity and efficiency within most organizations. And you're managing now co-manufacturing, I think, across the globe and some international kind of sourcing agreements, but maybe just share with them what you're doing on that area.
We use NetSuite as the backbone. It's not just a financial tool, it is a cross-functional operations. So our co-manufacturers, our procurement teams, demand planning, all of those things coming together, it's such an integral part because things are changing very rapidly. And what worked 6 months ago, when we implemented the system just over a year and a half ago, we were buying product in a very, very different way than we are today. And we needed to set the system up to allow us to do that, and the abilities that we're able to use with reporting and all of the different suite apps, and then using the ACS team to help us bring that together. It's made us stronger, faster, and we can move with the times.
And I know that you brought a lot of product with you because we're going to see it everywhere out there. One of my favorites is that glutathione, not because I like the drink, but it's good for your liver. And the liposomal glutathione is one of my favorites. The citrus berry or the berry one?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's good. I'm a vitamin B girl.
Oh, vitamin B, okay.
The vitamin B, vitamin D,
You bring the energy for sure. Maybe it's the vitamin B, B or B12, I don't know.
Hey, to keep up with this life.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so now we get into the big question around AI. And wow, I mean, you've got a lot of experience in different companies and Symbiotica, but how are you thinking about incorporating now AI into your business operations?
Well, I'll tell you, Sam, I had a very different answer for this before this morning's keynote. I will tell you, I am so excited. I don't know if you guys are excited about this, but I am overwhelmed excited. I've been asking for this for years. If I can think it, can't NetSuite do it? And the opportunities that I look and see of the next is it's just overwhelming. My entire team is so excited about it. So now it's really got us thinking, and this trip, ultimately, the warehouse, right? We were thinking too small before we came this week, I think. And we were looking at bill capture, we just implemented it, yay. Deduction and workbench, great. But the opportunity for the warehouse, the opportunities of integrating our CX and the customer experience more explicitly, and to be able to have all of that in one place, that's where we're heading.
I think you'll see a lot of value coming with that. I mean, your data now being all there, and operations is key for it.
Well, exactly. We need our team members to not just be, the data entry folks of old. We need everyone to be able to be critical thinkers, to really understand not just entering the data in, but how do I get it out? And unfortunately, we spend so much time trying to figure out how to get the data out that by the time we get it out, now it's almost too late to make it actionable. So with using AI, with really leaning into the suite apps, with leaning in across the board, it gives us an opportunity to not just be strategic and critical thinking after the fact, but ahead.
It's the conversation I think you're going to have around it, which is that whole dialogue of when you think about NetSuite Next, and even today with MCP, having that dialogue, asking a natural language conversation with your system. It's going to be odd for a lot of you talking to your computer and your spouse or your family members and what is going on in the other room, but
bring it on.
Yeah, that's it, right? All right, well, maybe last question here is what's next for you guys as you envision I really want you to think about this no limits mindset, and I think you got some of that this morning, but how do you think about going forward with Symbiotica?
Well, we are complicated because we're making ourselves complicated by the lean in relative to retail and some of the other things, of course. We're growing more broadly. But we need tools. We need technology to help us to do that because, I think as my prior speaker was talking about, it's throwing bodies at it isn't the way to get there anymore. You've got to be good, strong partners. That's where our NetSuite ACS team comes in. That's where my sales guy, John, who's out there somewhere, comes in, right? And the teams to really bring it together so that we can be better without having to just throw bodies and add people, but really think critically, grow stronger, really think about what our consumers want, and bringing that data in of why do you like glutathione? Right. Why did you return this? Right. And then be able to do something really effective to drive forward without it being 3-6 months to do it.
Well, I look forward to see some amazing new announcements and brands coming forward. So thanks for your time, Kimberly.
Absolutely, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, this last cleanup batter, he's not last, he's not least. He's going to be really impactful. And I think the CFO, where is Tim Natty from the Savannah Bananas? Tim, come on up to the stage.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh, he's so much taller in real life.
Yeah, usually
so
like...
hey, I was told I needed to do one of these and one of these.
Oh, there we go.
But really what I'm going to do, guys, is that I need to, I know this is a family-friendly show, but we all want to know what Sam looks like underneath this.
Oh,
so
wow.
We're just going to do this right
should
now
I tuck my
we can
shirt
get it done.
in? Should I suck it in?
All right, here we go, guys. So this was actually for the 2025 Savannah Bananas. Although they did wash out of the playoffs this year, I think he looks great in yellow.
Whoa!
I don't know. I think you look great, man.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, this is your show, so let's go ahead.
Let's hop into it. Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for the jersey, though. This is great.
And I'm just going to keep this jacket. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Can I get my wallet out of there?
Yeah,
first?
we'll see what
I'm
happens.
gonna need that to pay for the tab tonight. Okay, well, Savannah Bananas.
You look fantastic.
Yeah, this
My
is
goodness,
good, huh?
look at this guy.
First time ever putting on a jersey like this. Wow, back in my high school days. Okay, let's get into it though. I mean, you created this category of, the Savannah Bananas is truly their own category, and I think maybe just describe to the audience what's that like, because I know the backstory, but you're kind of, with you and your organization, your founder is the growth, the league, the followers. Just talk about that for a little bit.
So the first and foremost is that one of those things that when we were doing prep, right, because I want to give Danielle a shout out here. She scripted everything, but we're all going off script. We're burning the script today, guys. So one of the things that we always get asked about, and I really appreciate this conversation, is like, how big are you getting? And of course, when people talk to the CFO, they want to know about dollars and cents. Tell me how much you're growing. What's your return on what rate of return and all this other stuff. Really what it comes down to for us guys, it's fans. And when Jesse Cole, the founder, and just the man himself, the Yellow Tux, talks about growth, one of the things that we usually talk about is, and I know I'm kind of skipping ahead of the script, but we're gonna just destroy it. Here we go.
Do it.
He'll come to me after a game and he'll say, "Hey Natty, how did we do tonight?" And of course, me, dollar signs, I'm thinking, oh, we did X number of dollars for merchandise. We did this in food and beverage. Here's our per cap, this, that, all of the key metrics that we need to know for a baseball entertainment show. And he goes, no. How many fans did we touch tonight? And I was like, oh, well, now I got to go to Shopify, Bobby, and I got to figure out how many orders did we have, multiply that by 3.5, and then all of a sudden we have how many fans did we touch? And so what it really comes down to, when we say that we're trying to build a 1 billion fan brand, the 1 billion fans, I mean, guys, if you can get to 1 billion fans, you don't have to worry about dollars. So it's not about dollars. I know that dollars and cents, we have to keep this thing moving, I get that. But if we can still, if our currency really is smiles and joy and the golden rule, then really what it comes down to, Sam, is that that people want to come back.
Right.
They want to be a part of this ethos that we've created. And it's one of those things where if we could just bottle it up and sell it out and everybody could do it with their clients in their own places, that we can do this,
Right.
we can do this. It's a revolution.
We'll talk about this though, because this is really important. If you go into the revenue streams now that you have and thinking about this growth that you've seen, I mean, what's going on there? I mean, when you think about all these different, how they're evolving.
So obviously we have the main revenue streams we have are our ticket sales, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, when I first got there, the CPA that was before me didn't know that we had to pay sales tax on tickets. So, oh my goodness. What a nightmare. We had to figure that one out. I had to prostrate myself in front of the state of Georgia saying, please, mea culpa. So we have the tickets, we have the merchandise. Merchandise is coming on strong. And again, through our partnership with Shopify and with ShipBob and all these other platforms, our tech stacks that allow us to make that happen as we move this stuff around the country on 52-foot trailers. And then also we have some partnerships. So food and beverage, hate to say it, but food and beverage is really kind of a loss leader for us because we do all you can eat. Which to me, if you want to put a dagger in the heart of a CFO, tell them we're going to give away free food. Like what?
Wow.
Are you going to do what?
Yeah.
But the partnerships that we have, so media is starting to come on strong. If you guys haven't noticed, we are on ESPN, TNT, some of those local regional places, and that is now starting to bear some fruit because we've made some serious investments in being able to continue to offer our platform for free on YouTube.
So this is good because now you're talking about the scale thing, and now you've got this evolving multi-revenue channel piece of it. At what point did you wake up and say, oh my gosh, my current QuickBooks is not going to support this, right? Like, how did you decide to make that move to NetSuite?
So I will tell you, we still use QuickBooks for one of our entities. We use it because it's a smaller entity, and it actually facilitates our payables. It's just super easy to push out payables. But for the big mama, the fans first entertainment, NetSuite has come in, and basically what ended up happening is that we found that there was a line of demarcation that we hit where, in the case of QuickBooks, and a lot of platforms we hit this, as you start plugging in the peripherals and you get out of what the core competency of that platform really does, then you start taking your own risks of, do you have a coder? Do you have a IT guy? Do you have all these different people? And I got to tell you guys,
your volume of transactions.
This hat rack can't wear any more hats.
Yeah.
But from that standpoint, NetSuite, what I've loved about the platform in and of itself is that not only does it take care of our GL, and it's a massive increase of what our GL can do, but also it allows us to scale should we want to start hooking in all of these other entities that naturally fit with the NetSuite environment.
But let me just double sure here. NetSuite's the core of your business.
It is the core of our business. Yes, Sammy. Thank you so much for the core.
Make sure that's it. And I saw these things. I never asked customers this question, is like, what's your valuation, all that. But I think I saw something in Forbes that was like, wow, they value you guys almost $500 million.
Sam, Forbes did me a solid on this one because everybody always asks, so how much are you guys worth? And I just want to tell them, just make up so we're like a couple bucks, a hamburger, a hot dog.
Right.
But no, Forbes came out and said that we were worth about $500 million. I think that's small, actually, but okay. I think we're worth 1 billion smiles, if you ask me. So, I mean,
that's even better.
Right?
Yeah.
But no, very excited that Forbes took that interest in order to make that effort, but a lot of those things we don't really talk about those things. We are 100% privately owned, which makes it very easy to maneuver. We've heard several of your guests today talk about agility and nimbleness and all these things. That is us to a T. But as we are growing, those growing pains are getting I just need to stretch. I need to take some of that gel over here.
Yeah.
But if we could find out different ways to really play with all these different systems, then I think that we'll be more successful.
Yeah, you're putting them together. So this is interesting because now you're selling out not just Major League Baseball stadiums, you're going to NFL stadiums and selling it out. You're having the finals are this week, I want to say.
That's correct. Right? So we just had our playoffs, our first ever Banana Ball Championship League playoffs. We will have our final on Saturday. In fact, our selection show is this Thursday. I was able to come out here, wedge it in between the playoffs and the selection show, and it'll be posted on ESPN. So everybody in this room will know the next two teams and where we're going to play next year.
Well, I want to know how technology though is helping you scale, because that's what I keep talking about. It's like helping you, right? But you're putting all this, connected systems. But you're thinking of the CFO. I'm thinking of the CFO's office and what you're running.
Yes.
Right, and connecting all this piece of it is the economics of scale, because you got all these fans coming in, and any words of wisdom there? What you guys have done
from a scaling economic standpoint? Yeah. So we try to simplify. So anything that takes that extra question. You need to have a team that understands what that next question is, right? So you don't just take it, you have certain expectations, you train them for the expectations, and if that answer doesn't meet your expectations, then you ask the second question, the third question in order to meet that. If once you understand it, you're good, leave it alone and move on. That happens inside food and beverage, inside entertainment, inside of our BTV, inside of finance, that we spell with a PH, by the way, because we can. But the idea, though, is that as we scale, one of the things that I've really become accustomed to is making sure that we can simplify as people come into finance and tie into us. We make sure that it's easy to communicate this information back to them, because one of the things, we all know this, from a finance perspective, people are intimidated. And the last thing you want to do is have people intimidated about talking about something that's vital to the organization. So I think NetSuite allows us to do that with the reporting mechanisms and what have you.
Right. Oh, that's good. Well, this is a good one. I think this is because the last interview of the keynote here, right, this afternoon is, you get this bonus question, because many of you in the audience probably don't know. He's a Dr. Tim Natty. It's Dr. Natty up here. And we talked about this a little bit before, is as a doctor, though, because you got this doctor, you've earned it. You went to school for it. And so what would you prescribe to the finance professionals out here and the executives in the audience? What would you prescribe to them how to get involved and learn more about being, evolving their careers?
Involved in Banana Ball?
No, just being successful in their business.
Oh gosh. Okay, so
Banana Ball is crazy, but that's for the bar.
So first and foremost, I actually think the prescription is to teach people how to tell stories better. I think one of the things that we do, and that really marks a professional that is really soaring versus a professional that's really struggling, is their ability to storytell. And so if we can get to where we start bringing up people and actually giving purposeful, I'm not talking about business communications where you're talking about emails and speeches and things like that. I'm talking about writing a script, doing a film, doing things that actually have a character arc or something. Because at some point, you're going to be standing in front of a client.
Any groups come to mind that help you do that?
There's a few. There's a few. Okay. But the idea is that I think it's really important that we that prescription, that one thing that if we could help our young professionals, even our current professionals, tell better stories, then there will be no more boring quarter end reports. No more boring 10Qs, 10Ks. I mean, annual shareholder meetings will be amazing.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we can do. If we can impress upon that, if the bananas can help with that storytelling, we'll see what happens.
Pretty good storyteller. I can't wait to see how this evolves, right? So thanks, Tim, for coming out.
You're actually welcome. All right.
Okay.
Go Bananas.
Yes, there we go. And thanks for the jersey.
You're welcome.
That's great.
You're welcome.
That's great. Okay. All right, so we got one small wrap up here, and we got a crazy video to show you at the end here too. But we started the challenge and talked about every company faces hitting that scaling wall. And we saw how the best break through it, and using that platform, automation, and industry experience. And I think this is now the time, you've heard it all from here, it's now your turn. This is your moment. It's your moment to go build, learn more at SuiteWorld, and no limits. So enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you, everyone.